Welcome back, folks, to part 2 of how to install a meter for an RV pedestal. Today I'm going to show you how to install the meter itself. On that first episode, I showed you how to install the base. Now, one thing I want to make sure that I'm clear about is if you haven't worked with electricity in the past, make sure that you consult a certified electrician before you start the project. Also, like anytime that you're working with electricity, make sure that you shut off electricity at your main power source before starting the project. Now let's jump into it. Here you can see the base that we installed in part 1. What I'm doing is I'm removing the cap on top of the base to get ready to install the meter itself. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to twist on that closure nipple on top of the base. This is what you're going to be running the wires through whenever you install the meter housing on top. Next, go ahead and twist that meter housing on. You want to make sure that you twist it on so that it's nice and snug whenever it's facing the front of the RV pedestal. That way it doesn't back off at a later date. Now, on my thumbnail for this video, I told you that you could save money by installing a pedestal, so let me run through how this works. For my park itself, on average, your customer's using about $4 daily in electric. That's about $120 for the month. For our monthly customers, we bill back that electric, as they're already getting a really deeply discounted daily rate. The cost to install the meter is about $120. Whenever you end up billing that electric back to the customer, that nets you about $0. So after 1 month of billing back the electric, the meter would have paid for itself. Now let's get back to it. On the top here, I'm just taking that cap that was on top of the base and I'm putting it on top of the meter pedestal, and I'm going to go ahead and tighten that down. That's going to prevent any weather or debris from getting into the meter conversion kit and giving you problems later on. Now let's go crack open the pedestal and see what's inside. Now, just like any time that you're working with electricity, I can't stress it enough. Stop and make sure that you shut off the electricity before opening up the pedestal covers. There is a lot of voltage going into this RV pedestal that you need to make sure that you're not working with whenever it's on. So what we're going to want to do is take off the bottom cover first. This is going to expose all the lines that are coming from your main power source and terminating into the box. Then what we'll need to do is we're going to need to take off the top cover so that you can expose the lines that are running from the bottom up to the top, because these lines won't be long enough to reach all the way up into the meter and then come back down into the pedestal itself. Let's save a little time and speed things up so we can get to redoing the wiring. Once we get that top cover off and we get it tucked in, we're going to start with the bottom first. Here you can see the loop lug assembly. This is all the main wires that come in from your main power source. And now you can see what I'm doing is I'm loosening up the 2 wires that run up to the panel that controls your breakers. This is what powers your 50 amp breaker, your 30 amp breaker, and your 110 outlet for all of your RV usage. Then we move up to the top portion of the panel. Here you can see the breaker load center. You can also see the 2 wires that are coming up from the bottom, which is the loop lug assembly, and we're going to need to loosen those so that we can completely remove those 2 wires. As soon as we get those wires pulled out, we'll be able to start finally putting things back together. One recommendation I do have for you is, since your covers are off, you might as well go ahead and take a few minutes to clean out the inside of the pedestal. As you can see here in the upper right hand corner, I had a spider that was nice enough to make a little nest for me. So I'll go ahead and I'll remove that. Before we start running the wires up to the meter, I want to point out 2 things. The top part is your line and the bottom part is your load. The line is what's coming from your main power source, which is the loop lug assembly all the way down below in your pedestal. The load is what's going back down into the breaker load center and what's going to end up powering the breakers on your panel. To get prepared to add the wire, you're going to want to make sure that you loosen all 4 of the screws that are in each one of the 4 connectors in your meter housing. And guys, before we drop those lines in, if you like what you see, please do me a favor and like and subscribe to the channel, as I'll continue to add content on a regular basis. The first wires I'm going to be dropping down from the meter are going to be the line wires. These are the wires that are going to end up feeding the electricity all the way up into the meter itself. When it comes to making the connections, the configuration is really quite simple. Just always remember that your line is on top and your load is on the bottom. Other than that, it's left to left and right to right. One quick tip that I'll share with you before you get started on this part is get a rough measurement going from your lines all the way down to your loop lug assembly, and then from your loads going down to your breaker load center. After you get your measurements, add on another inch or 2. This will allow for the bends that you're going to need to make in the wire. Then strip about 3/4 of an inch of the sheathing off of the wire. I have a YouTube short that easily shows you how to do this on thick gauge wire shown on the right of the screen. Let's make that final connection of the line wire coming down from the top to the loop lug center. After you get them all in place, make sure that you tighten down all of those screws so that they're nice and snug and there's no play of the wire. I'm going to go ahead and speed things up a little bit, as not much is different whenever you're going from the load down to the breaker load center. Just remember the rule: left to left, right to right. We're just on the tail end of this project and we're getting ready to install the meter itself. One thing I'll say is that this project is pretty easy once you end up getting one completed and figure it out. After that, each one will only take you about 20 to 30 minutes to do from front to back. One last thing I want to bring to your attention, because I almost forgot. In the center of the meter, you can see a screw. That screw there is actually meant for your ground. I didn't have it installed before I ended up putting the cover on and had to redo it after the fact. I almost forgot. But I wanted to make sure I shared that with you guys so you guys don't make the same mistake. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm snapping on the meter. If you stand directly behind it, you'll be able to make sure that it's centered whenever you're pulling it on. And you do want to make sure that it's centered, because if it's not centered and you snap it on, it'll make it really tough to get the locking ring on. And that's what I'm putting on now. When you're putting the ring on, don't be afraid to bend it. Hold it on the one very end and then slowly start twisting and bending it around until it snaps in place on it. Then what you have to do is lift the one end up over to lock it in place. There's a little tab that sticks out and a slot on one end so that you can make sure that that tab and that slot align. After you get it in, the last thing that I recommend doing is going and turning the electricity on. You want to do that part now before you end up putting the seal on it. And you can see that I just turned it on, and now you have zeros across the board, and then it'll transition to eights. If that's happening right now, you know that you installed your project properly. If you're working along with me as you're completing your project, I'd say good job, because you're done. The only other thing that you have to do is put on the seal, because you want to make sure that each one of your meters is sealed properly so that people can't tamper with them in the future. And it's really simple. What you do is you just take the one wire part that's open, slide it through the little hole, and then you slide it into the plastic part and it locks in place. Now your meter is 100% done. The only thing left to do is button everything back up and you're good to go. Now all you have to do before your next customer pulls in is get a good accurate meter reading, and then whenever they're ready to leave, get a second meter reading and you can bill them back for the electric that they used. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope this video helps you out with your next project. I'll make sure to post all the tools and parts that I ended up using in this video down below in the comments. Also, if you like what you saw, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you can always see the most current videos that I post. Thanks for watching and good luck with your next project.